Hi guys, it's time to get down to something a little bit more like some machining. This is all based around the fixed steady, which I have described before, I think. Anyway, just a recap. It's an aluminum casting originally made to suit a Myford lathe, and it was just a blank casting, so we had to bore out each of these sections, make the hinge, and make up some fingers. And I thought I'd show you, just out of interest, how the fingers have been operating. They have a machine flat, which I think I did with a fly cutter actually, and I don't really need 4, 3 would suffice, but that was the design. And the base has been modified with a load of pieces of plate. This it's jammed up. This piece here, which looks an odd shape, but it's for sliding in between the ways on the lathe, and that works quite well. And the components of this area, what we have is a little T-bar tightening piece, and that bears on a washer, and then we've got 2 pins, 2 hardened pins. So if we come back up again, what we have then is the pins going in here. We've got a stud on each of these. Try not to get in the way. Put the washer on and put on the tightening little T-bar, and then the 2 pins operate on the flat of the finger. Anyway, the modification I wanted to do was to put a thread on these, which I never did it before, never even thought about it, but this adjustment technique is a bit crude. It works. I've made it work several times, but I want something with a bit of thread. So here's the first candidate to be done, and this piece here, which again I think I described before, this was a slightly slack fit, although I bored it out to 1/2 inch, and we're going to thread this 1/2 inch 20. I used some hot melt to get a better fit. In fact, this one needs refitted. The idea being to have something round to use an indicator on. Well, even with the flat, I can still get it in the 3-jaw, allowing for the this sort of collar bush not being 100% on the center of the material. I've got probably a couple of thou, which is not too bad, because we're only threading these pieces, and I'm not too worried about the odd thou here. I'm going to zoom back a bit, because this dear little old camera, crappy that it is, it does all right up to a point, but it does not like being zoomed in too close. So I'm just going to put some, let's get some extra light. I'll just get the center in here anyway. Okay, that'll work, and I think now I'll probably set that up in the 4-jaw. I don't think I can get away with it. I might try it in the 3-jaw actually. You never know, it might run alright. Oh, I changed of plan. It seemed logical to use a collet. Seeing as I'm trying to get away with just an inch in here, which is better than inside the chuck, I'm using my collet extension, which just about gives me enough travel. I can get up probably to fairly close to the collet. So I'm going to try and take a scratch test and see where we go. I'm running on back gear, needless to say. Let's come back here. Oh, wait a minute, I've just got to pop my dial gauge on the back of the cross slide. Okay, we've got a indicator set up here now. And I've got my cross slide stop set. We're zeroed up, and before we take a cut on the thread, I just want to put a bit more chamfer on here. Right, we'll just come back to ready to do a scratch. Right. See what we've got for that. And looks good to me. Right, we've only got to go about 30 thou on here, so let's feed in a little bit. Take a first cut. I'm going to try and get fairly close back to the collet, but not so much that it's dangerous. I'm not zooming in anymore, by the way, to try and, as I may have mentioned, try and stop the camera doing its stupid tricks when things are rotating. Maybe try a little bit more. See if it'll cope with that. Take the same amount of cut again. Well, that's 2 lots of 4 thou. I'll come back to this when I've got nearer the end of the cut. In fact, one thing I was going to do, when I've got close to the end cut, I'm going to run a die over it, which will be a quick fix to finish it off. And it saves looking for the sort of magic finish on the lathe cutting. And I'll take a couple more cuts at of 2 thou and see if we can get the tapping nut on there, the die. Alright, let's take a close look. It's nearly there actually. There's probably about another tooth out to go. Let's back off here. Not quite ready yet. It's starting, so it's obviously just very close. Getting this die nut started is not so easy. I think we'll take the last couple of thou and see where we go from there. It should make all the difference. Should be enough lead-in chamfer there in theory. Let's see where we are. I didn't probably put quite enough chamfer on that. It's virtually there. So that was the requisite 30 thou. Whether we can get this on just to tidy things up. I must put a little bit more chamfer on the next ones. Actually, this is still a little bit tight. I'm inclined to think I'll keep the. I may just take a spring cut. I don't want the nuts to be too sloppy, so I think perhaps we'll just take a spring cut. Might just make the difference. So we'll just go down on the same setting. Probably noticed the cut was a bit more generous when it started than when it finished. It may be I had a tiny bit of a very small chip in the in there that the centre was catching on. Let's see where we are now. That feels pretty nice all the way there, actually. So I haven't even used the die nut, which doesn't want to start very easily. Well, believe it or not, although that's a half 20, try to put it on backwards. I suspect these nuts are a little bit generous for tolerance, so that's what we're going to go with. I'll just smooth this off a little bit and put a little bit more chamfer on the front end here, which I should have done before really, just a bit more generous. All right. Just a little light touch. Okay, well guys, there's another 3 of these to do, and oh god, they keep dropping their nuts. That one finished up in my oil pot. Let's try another. I don't know, it's the nuts, shouldn't be my thread. As it may be these nuts vary slightly, I don't know. They're not the best of nuts. Anyway, we've got 3 more to go, so I'll get the others done, and that should be the job finished. So there we are, 4 of the little levels, and now I just want to put those into the steady frame and get it set up. There's the 2 bottom ones in, so get that in, lock it up, and this one in, tighten it up just momentarily. Now the one thing this does do, because of what I've done, it does reduce the diameter that I can get in here, which probably won't matter too much. It's not very big, but the chances are on my scale of operation, 1.5 inches, that's about all I can go to on it at the moment. So if I need to go bigger than 1.5 inches, then I'll have to get rid of the nuts. But more often than not, it's fairly small stuff that needs the, long and small diameter. So this is really for small stuff more than anything else. And I don't know whether it's going to go down small enough either. I probably need, what might actually be an idea eventually, is to make some new fingers. That might be a useful move. Well, there it is. I may well make new fingers, but that's about as small as I can go, so I could cope with a piece of, what would that be? Just about 1/2 inch, maybe just under. And again, if I take the nuts off, I can go back to the old function. So the range, only got about 1 inch to play with, a bit less than 1 inch each side, but that's going to give me much more adjustment. And this this little bush fellow that I did and messed around with hot melt glue was a bit of a waste of time really, because it was pretty obvious that I was going to use the collet for the repetition involved, so that was a waste of time. Expect I'll use it for something. Anyway, there we are. Useful exercise. I think it'll make the unit a bit more versatile anyway, that's something. And the next version might be to have, instead of phosphor bronze tips, make some slightly longer fingers, extend the thread, in other words do threading first and then finish up the ends, and possibly make small ball race yokes or something like that, but that ain't going to happen anytime soon, I don't think. Alright guys, I don't know what's coming next, something or other. Thanks for watching.